Bruce Whitfield on 702.
702.
Good set of results from Motus today. Despite a difficult environment, despite higher interest rates, vehicle sales recovering very smartly post the pandemic. The Motus Holdings Chief Executive, Osman Arbee. Is this sort of pent-up demand going wild here, Osman?
Good evening, Bruce, and good evening to your listeners. I think this is just normal backlog that we had after COVID. Remember, we still, despite all the doom and gloom around us, we still have a very buoyant consumer wanting to replace vehicles, things like that. And like you mentioned earlier, I mean, if we project our vehicles for this year, South Africa could be selling 550,000 vehicles. Not yet 1 billion we used to talk about, but 550 for an economy of our size, recovering from COVID, a very good number, whichever way you look at the number.
Are we seeing people trading up, sideways, or down? One gets a sense that the very expensive vehicles at the top end of the market are, taking a little bit longer to sell than the Etioses and whatever the smaller models there are.
So you're quite right. The structural change started 3 years ago, where people started down buying vehicles. Instead of buying a 1 million vehicle, they could only afford 800,000. Instead of 800,000, they went to 600,000. As a result, the brands that benefited from the down buy would be brands that we import, Hyundai, Kia, Renault, for example, Toyota, VW, those, and Suzuki, for example, who have benefited from that as well. So premium brands are becoming more difficult to sell. They have become expensive. And we must remember that we're sitting in a country where currency is weak. All these cars are imported, the premium brands, including the medium and the small cars. But the small and medium cars are still managing. The premium cars have become expensive, and as a result, the dealerships will cut their cloth accordingly.
So we are seeing that they're definitely trading across to more affordable brands. Are we seeing enough stock across the different categories of cars? Because in the early stages of the post-COVID recovery, there were shortages of microchips and all sorts of things, and because supply chain constraints and the cost of getting vehicles across the oceans was absolutely terrifying. Are things normalizing a bit?
Interestingly, from the last week of December and into January, the Durban port received 20,000 vehicles. That will be the Hyundais, Kias, Renaults, Suzukis, a bit of Toyotas, a bit of the Chinese vehicles as well. So the vehicles are starting to arrive now in good quantities. So from now onwards, we're getting back to the normality. There are certain models that are not available, certain premium models not available. The cars from Europe are a bit slower. But if you look at cars coming from India, China, Japan, Thailand, they're starting to come in at virtually pre-COVID levels now. So we're at about 80% pre-COVID, but the stocks have now arrived in the month of January.
Electric vehicles, noticeable or not yet?
Not yet. Too expensive for our country. No government subsidies. And South Africa doesn't have an infrastructure where you can charge these vehicles. But we're not alone in this battle. I mean, if I look at our dealerships in Australia, very slow. I look at the UK, the hybrids and the electric cars are below 10%. Again, infrastructure in the UK is a problem. So you can buy the car, but depending where you live, you may not get your vehicle charged tonight. So South Africa is not alone in this issue. The infrastructure hasn't rolled out as the OEMs want to roll out, and they'll have the cars, but the rollout of the infrastructure will be slow.
And that's going to hold us back from a climate perspective. It's going to hold us back from a global acceptability point of view, because we've got the European Union outlawing the internal combustion engine and the manufacture of the internal combustion engine from 2030. Other countries will follow suit.
I think there will be reality somewhere, Bruce, that we can't all go to electric. There won't be enough batteries. There won't be enough of the raw material to make these things. So they will have to look at alternate vehicles as well. So battery is not the only solution. And we won't be able to make enough batteries or have enough infrastructure to meet the demand. So this is going to be a much slower process than I think we anticipate. And it's worse for people in developing countries. It may be a bit easier in the first world countries, but it's not happening fast enough. I mean, UK will sell 2 million vehicles, and below 10% of that will be electric and hybrid.
Yeah.
So this is a long way to go.
Absolutely. You have been on the acquisition trail. You are in a growth frame of mind. You bought a UK-based parts distributor. You've done various other things as well. You've bought motor dealerships in Gauteng, Mercedes dealerships. You are clearly feeling confident enough to throw more capital at deals and deal making than perhaps many South African companies are at the moment.
Bruce, what happened during the 2 years of COVID? We had less stock. We had less cars in car rental business. We accumulated quite a bit of cash and good banking facilities. So when opportunities came about, like the aftermarket parts that we paid 3.7 billion for in the UK, the potential of that business at EBITDA level is 700 million a year, because they're selling cars to parts for cars that are outside warranty. The car park in the UK is 40 million cars. Take out the cars in warranty is 8 million. We're fishing in the pond of 32 million vehicles. And the business we bought gives me a 5% market share in the UK. In the UK, new cars are becoming expensive. People are holding on to older cars. They're working in our favor, and we're going to sell more parts to this community. So in the UK, this is going to do good things for us. And in South Africa, I was selling Mercedes in Boksburg, Bedfordview, and the Glen. Now it extends my area into the north, which is Sandton, Constantia, and Bryanston, and a truck dealerships in Roodepoort. So it gives me quite a bit of synergies, and it's quite strategic in that way.
Osman Arbee, thank you, the Chief Executive of Motus Holdings.